Madase, family, good to see you all again, and welcome to another dope episode of Speak On It with DCTC. Always good to see you. Always blessed to be here with you all. Today, I got the awesome, intelligent, smart, lovely, beautiful, amazing human sister, my home girl from the West Side. Yes, the fact we got her in the building. I finally got her in the building. Well, she in her building. I'm in my building, but y'all know how this goes. Y'all know how this goes. But we in this thing together, and she has her own podcast. She's doing her thing scholastically. You know, she's a teacher. She's, you know what I'm saying, like a lifetime learner, you know, and just an awesome spirited empress. And so this young queen, Deja Vaughn, is on this with us today. You see her hashtag right there. Make sure to check her out on all social medias, everywhere that she's at. And I'll have some links in the description, like always, with our guests. So she's on here joining us today on our topic. And she's going to bring some light and brevity to it on a way that I cannot. So, you know, we only speak the facts of life here, right? So she's going to do her portion, and we're going to build together, and we're going to have these conversations and really, really deep dive into them and just share some of our experiences as well. And of course, share some of yours in the comment section. Don't forget, you know, to chat with us live, you know, and hit us up on social media, whatever you have in mind. And I believe she's going to do wonderful, and we're going to have her back. But this is her first time with us, so we're going to welcome her family. Bless up.
Yeah, thank you, TC. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy to be here, everybody. My name is Deja. I have a podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those good sites. It's actually called InHerSense. And I'm currently getting my PhD at Clark Atlanta in political science. So I kind of have a little bit of obviously an interpretation of academia because I'm still pursuing higher education. But on the flip side of it, there is some inequities in terms of how to achieve that and how your perception of life is when you go through education and when you go through the educational system as well. So I'm here to talk about that today. And I am very excited. I actually had the pleasure of interviewing DCTC a few months ago, and that's how I met him. And I know that he is a huge contributor to the DMV area, specifically Chocolate City, the DC area. So shout out to him and shout out to all the DMV people as well.
Oh, yeah. And you have some familiarity with the DMV, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. I went to high school out there. I went to Herndon High School, and then I also went to, what is it called? Freedom High School in Woodbridge, Virginia. Yeah, and then I also went to Virginia State. So I'm pretty familiar with, well, at least the Northern Virginia area and the 757 area, as well as the 804 too. So.
So she's familiar with that part of it, the Northern Virginia side, you know, representing the 202. You know how we do, you know, but you know, we let the Commonwealth come up and visit and hang out with us. So she got to enjoy and see some things of the lands, learn about some go-go, you know, Ben's Chili Bowl and U Street, 8th Street, downtown, you know, all of the good stuff, you know, and see some of our native Washingtonians. So the gentrifiers, you know, they were already sprinkled in, but you know, we ain't worried about them. But you got to see the lay of the land, and so it's definitely a blessed connection. And social media is wonderful. So you know, we connected on social media from a post. I don't know who was it. You posted? I posted. Somebody posted. We got to chopping it up. But so we got connected that way, and boom, here you go. This is a blessed connection, and she's a wonderful interviewer. And we've really had a great time. I think the numbers are doing well, and we want to make sure to continue pushing those. And you know, her other guests, what an amazing job that she's doing with them. So you know, make sure to check her out. Like I said, the links will be in the description. But we're gonna get right into it today because you know we don't like playing around. So
let's get it. I'm so excited.
Oh yeah, so she kind of briefly spoke on it, but we're speaking today about our people and how we deal with self-taught learning versus scholastic education. Okay, so as I start us off, both of them are important. You know, both of them can be for a betterment or they can be detrimental depending on what you're aiming for, what you're striving for, what you're looking for, right? So somebody like myself who has the blend of both. So I'm speaking of in a way like with education form, with me learning how to play sports, being coached, and also learning on my own, with me doing music, learning on my own, but also having conductors and learning from composers and learning from my band directors, and of course the greats that you get to see and hear from their music, right, and their life, and also when it comes to the book learning. So you know, me learning things on my own and just gravitate towards certain books and certain authors because I love to read, and also, you know, having scholastic years. So going through grade school, going through some, you know, summer college before I dropped out and started a career I wanted to do, I could actually do more with certifications. So it is different ways of going about it. It all depends on what you're striving for. We know that the country pushes education and pushes you getting um, this certain line of credit that they're gonna hit you over the head with as you get older with that college tuition and also paying back student loans. Student loans is a beast. We will never forget that this country here was built on credit. The first credit was animals, then people. Our people were lines of credit. We were bartered just like food and just like animals. Sometimes we were treated actually way worse. So remember, building up on on scholastic ways will have those things happen to you. And now a lot of people are in debt paying back student loans because they get out of school and they're not getting the money to pay that back right away. But the country knows that. The government, the scholastic system knows that. But if you're moving, striving forward in certain ways, the way the country is built, the way the world in some ways are built, you have little to no choice to do it. But you also can have options in the way that you are striving in your career that you can actually you can do self-taught, self-learning things. But it's all about what you decide, and whatever you decide, you commit to it and you go all in. Because regardless, you're going to have to show up and show off when it's time to produce.
For sure. I think my at least interpretation of self-taught learning versus scholastic learning is I actually in elementary school I did not like school at all. I hated school. And that was specifically because of how my teachers treated me and how they made me feel and how they made me feel like there was something wrong with me, like that I wasn't educated enough or I was doing this, I was disruptive. Granted, you know, I'm a child. I probably was a little spicy, you know, but to totally annihilate someone's mind, to have them always excluded from class or having them sit alone or telling them that their answer isn't right. And I know those fundamentals because I am too a teacher. And irregardless of my students' ability to learn, I would never demonize them intentionally in front of other students or just in general. So that was definitely my level of understanding for scholastic education. It wasn't until really high school and college where I went to an HBCU where I started to appreciate it. And at that point in time, I became a self-taught learner for myself so that I had a deeper appreciation for scholastic education because I was teaching it myself and finding my own interpretation of it because I knew that the teachers that I had, at least some of them, were not going to challenge anything besides what was written and what was given.
Yeah, see, and and see right there, that's one of those things where you're just not sure of because, like I said, you're young and you're learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, then what can you actually do to help shift or change that, right? Because everybody has their own particular learning curve, right? So I know for myself, I grew up, didn't know for a long time, but found out that I had ADD and I also had frontal lobe dyslexia. So my learning curve was very unique. Um, so I'm like, boom, what am I actually going to do with building forward? So I needed to get tutors. I had to find out ways to learn differently. And my teachers will only do but so much because they weren't equipped. And I'm in DC public schools, and especially the ones that I was in, you go to where you can go, where you allowed to go, and where your parents can afford to send you to a certain degree. So I get it on that part, and you have to do those things, so it's always variables. I don't like when people speak in absolutes, unless it's something that is a straight fact. But these things right here have variables. That's why when I thought of the topic and wanted to speak on this, alongside you, I wanted to do something that was not just one portion of it, right? Because there's multiple portions. So
Yeah.
so you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it definitely is multiple perspectives. Like it could either go so many different ways. You can
Mm-hmm.
either be institutionalized in it or institutionalized in it in some facet, but there's so many different ways that can go. I'm sorry, are you able to hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you fine. I can hear you the whole time. So I've been able to hear you, and our viewers can hear you. So you're fine.
Oh, okay. Wanted to
It's
make
just your
sure. Sorry.
screen is coming. Yeah, it's just your screen is coming up choppy, not your words. Your visual.
Oh, okay. All right.
Your
That
audio
makes
is fine. No, and no
okay.
worries. Technology is only great when it works. You're not working IT
Right.
and cyber service, cybersecurity. We already locked that in as
I was
professionals.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, if the audio isn't working, this is bad.
No, we heard everything you said, and we appreciate you.
All right, awesome.
Okay, so no worries. So I want to get you distracted, but no, thanks for checking. This happens sometimes, so no
Mm-hmm.
worries. And that's the thing about doing podcasts, right? When you do podcasts all
Right.
the time, you don't got to worry about that because the audio is going to be there 9 times out of 10. So, but no worries. There's little technicalities, but we can see you, and we can hear you. It just came a little bit choppy, but
Okay.
but no worries as we continue forward. Like I said, I want to speak a little bit more and share with our viewers some things that that you've been able to learn, being a lifetime student, a lifetime learner, and also being a teacher. Some things that you've seen on how the Americanized school system affects our people, and then second part to that, what are you doing to help shift, the change for our people in the culture that we're in?
I think I'll take the second part of your question first in terms of what I'm doing or what I have done. And that is just well, like my experience as a teacher has been in mainly inner city communities. One specifically was in Petersburg, and that first initiation was seeing how Petersburg Public Schools treats African American students. And
Mm-hmm.
the inner city youth there is it's a lot going on in Petersburg. So there was a lot of generalization that most teachers had in terms of students that were not compliant. And these are kids, these are like babies in elementary school. And because they won't sit down, they're already being reprimanded and they're already being classified as a student that has ADHD. So already right then and there, I saw myself within the students that I was working with in those inner city communities. Because I remember my experience as an elementary school student and being generalized the same exact way. So that right there is what made me love education deeper than just being a teacher, but just understanding how to not make that generalization, how to push students to believe in themselves. The thing about it is, students only check out when you don't love them and when you don't respect them and you don't challenge them. Students have the best discernment in the world. They will tell you if they don't even know how to speak intellectually like us, but they're able to say, I don't like her, she's mean.
Yes, we've heard
and
it.
You're like, okay, what does that mean? Right? Then months later, you see, oh, she is mean. But they can't communicate and explain why I feel like so-and-so is mean. But I just know so-and-so, every time I'm around so-and-so, that person does not make me feel good. They check out immediately. Even if it's a family member, they check out and they tell you that I don't like her. They tell you. They have one of the best discernments ever. See, we as adults don't have discernment, but children do. So even with that being said, I have been in different educational settings where I prioritize students that had that upbringing, especially with education, where they were not seen, even in terms of demographics, but just making sure me as a history teacher, I include everybody's history that's in that class. Irregardless of me being a Black first type of woman and me always prioritizing my Black identity, there were different identities that were within the classroom. So it was important and significant for me to integrate those type of cultures within my scholastic teaching, instead of just having it being one dimensional and just being about oppression for Black Americans and white history.
Yeah.
Things get very skewed with that, especially if you're a child. So you're already being like mentally indoctrinated about what the belief is about color. Okay, I know white is power and I know Black is this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that perspective. And then your first question that you were saying, I'm sorry, would you mind repeating that one?
No worries. So I was just asking for your from your experience that you shared earlier, what did you get to see as you moved forward in your personal scholastic experiences, now that you're in like going into like the higher levels, you're involved in the higher levels of scholastic learning within the country?
Right. I think I really just had professors and teachers, especially when I got to like high school, that really were pushing me. Like they didn't, excuse my French, like they didn't give a fuck if I was Black.
Yep.
These are my Black teachers. Like they didn't give a fuck if I was Black. They didn't care if I came from a single parent household. They didn't care that I was catching the bus. They cared about me getting the education, and they pushed me. What I mean by push me, not trying to, indoctrinate stuff, but I mean pushing me to become a better writer and to believe in my capabilities as a woman, that I can be successful in this life. So, I mean, I remember in college, I had one professor, and she's still my mentor to this day. And she created a new like course at Virginia State called African religions. We had all the religious groups come in to talk to us. So we had the Nation of Islam, we had the Hebrew Israelites, we had Baptists, we had Yoruba, we had everybody that I'm probably missing some people. Oh, Rastafarian. We had everybody come in there. It wasn't one dimensional. Nonetheless, it wasn't one dimensional. We were allowed to take that experience and create our own interpretation of it.
Wow.
So, those are some few experiences that I had that changed my perspective of that.
Okay. And that's important to have. And thank you for sharing that. Like that's powerful to be able to be within a school structure that in some ways we have helped, to carry on, but not in every way we created, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are people originally, yes, we created education and learning and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And history would tell us that not if you look at Americanized history books, how they create, especially in public schools. But we know as you do your own research and you continue and you are, lucky enough, and manifest it in your life and go and search and find certain professors and teachers, and then boom, like, oh, I get to get a vast knowledge now. I get to get a whole wider spectrum on it, and I'm hearing from others that are bringing their portion to it as well.
Right.
And we talk on a good enough basis. We know what we up against and whom we're up against, right? That's why we have these platforms. That's why we're striving together. We strive in our daily lives, to try to to do our part with and for our people, right? And when you see those things transpire like that, you're like, how has this gone on for so long?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how have we allowed this to take place for so long?
Right.
Where you have, people, when you go into, if you work in a major city, right? And you go to the bar and you talk and you speaking to someone, and I'm thinking definitely pre-COVID, pre-pandemic. And you looking and you speaking to someone, and one of the first questions they ask you is what you do for a living, and what school did you go to, or do you go to? Like, not who you are as a person. What's your personality? Let me read into the situation and see if this is a crappy person or not. What matters to me most is the type of work you do, so I can guesstimate how much money you make and bring in, and the title and position, and what school you went to, so I can know, okay, this is how much you owe in student loans. This is what you probably pay for tuition. You see, it's levels to this too. So it's like all of these things. Now, I will, because I strive for the facts, and when it comes to these certain things, I eat, sleep, and breathe it, right? So I will share it with you. Now, adults do still have discernment. It just becomes tainted.
Yes, precisely. Yes.
You see them. So so we just got to keep that in mind, that it becomes tainted, just like the skew of our mindset. The old school adage of children of 5 different ethnic groups playing in the sandbox as children. As they get older, now only getting all these different things plugged into their minds and into their eyes, and that television and all this stuff going on from the people on the outside telling them, hey, you got to hate this person, and they didn't do anything bad to you because of the color of their skin, right? And you have that, so your view gets skewed, gets tainted, and that's what ends up happening. So we lose that childlike freedom to a certain extent, right? We lose it to those portions of the innocence and the understanding and the freedom to think, more free way of thinking, because now we have these structures and these boxes that we're placed in to make us be only one type of person, like a genre of music. Like, oh, you rap, so you only a rapper. No, I can sing, I can write, I can produce. You can play an instrument too. Oh man, I just thought you was rapping because I heard you rap. You see what I'm saying? Like, we so quick to box ourselves in, and that's how that discernment gets tainted. But I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a hidden truth that a lot of people skip over and miss when it comes to the childlike understanding and free thinking to your adult. When you think you free thinking because you don't have a curfew, right? You don't have a parent to answer to, or so what so have you. But no, it gets tainted. You lose pieces.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely think that's important to consider. I think that brings it back to like what you do in terms of alignment of chakras or meditation, childlike pose, like the childlike pose with yoga, and
Right.
healing your inner child and bringing your inner child into life as well. Making sure that you execute the things that you were inspired to do as a child and not letting that go. Like if your inspiration was to be a singer, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're going to be the next Beyonce, because there is no such thing. But at the same time, it does mean maybe put forth the effort to at least try.
Yeah. And focus on being your best self. You know, if it's that, if it's a teacher, professor, if it's a lawyer or a doctor, whatever it may be, front office executive or owner, of a startup company, a small business, like all of those things, we can do it all.
Right.
We created it all, so we can do it all. So,
Right.
I love that point. Great point, Dej.
And I honestly say that everything that I wanted to do, like the job occupations that I wanted to do as a child, I have done literally all of them. Like I said as a child that I wanted to be a teacher, and I became a teacher. I said that I wanted to be a singer, said that I wanted to be a rapper, said that I wanted to be an actress, and I achieved those things. Hey, am I on Broadway? No. Do I have do I got some DVDs out right now? No. Do I have a mixtape out right now? No. But I did at least put forth the effort to still listen to that childlike energy that was in me that wanted to do those things.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And we're 10 talented people, it's already in us. So, so us making it a point to help our youth and young adults to build on that, especially as someone who's a young OG. Like I've been a young OG for a long time, it seems like, because even when I was a child, I was always striving to help. Like I'll see my age, but definitely the younger kids. I'm like, look, man, you want to learn how to be able to do backflips? Come on, I'll show you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to learn how to, play some defense in basketball because they keep going past you. I got you. Like different things, ride your bike better, ride your skateboard, like just certain things, I always saw that within myself. So when I connect with with a sister like yourself or another brother that's striving for those type of things, to share, like, look, I tried it. I at least tried it. I'm not living with regret. I at least made the attempt to do the things that I saw and I envisioned. So don't be afraid to. It's going to hurt worse if you don't. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Precisely.
You don't. You don't. So, and we're all in the process of progress for those who are striving. So it's so I love it. I implore, all of our brothers and sisters to do those things and to strive for those things, because we need to. And, don't let, your age, don't let, your quote unquote certain physical abilities and things like that stop you from at least trying, because you never know which lives you're going to touch. You never know what people are like. I needed you to share that, to show me that. You just don't know. I mean, look how many lives you've been able to touch so far in your life just by striving, just by putting these things out there. So, you motivate me, you inspire me. So, so it's not a gender thing. It's not anything, because we all connected anyway. And I have something I put on a lot of, if it's not, progress and empowerment, it's aspire to inspire. I put that on tags in my emails, in my signature, because like that's what we all should be striving to do, because we all we got at the end of the day.
Yeah. Speaking of that's we got at the end of the day, I asked this was a rhetorical question, but I was thinking about this And a lot of times when I use my Twitter specifically, I'm just thinking out loud. Like I don't really anticipate there being like a conversation, but it's just literally sometimes my thoughts out loud. I asked, how, if we're the first people on this planet being though like blacks, people with melanated skin,
rich
being on this planet, since when did we become a minority?
Speak on it.
Since when did we become the minority? That is just so ridiculous to me. It's ridiculous, and it's so ridiculous that you have to chuckle. Like, damn, really? That's how it is? That's how it is. Like if you sit there and just grapple with the thought of people that look like you and I, and it doesn't mean when people think of melanin, they think of like complexion like you and I, right? TC, like they think just that. No, melanin is across the spectrum. It's not just what you see. It's not brown. It's not light brown. It's just melanin. Period. And some people have more, but some people have less. But some people also don't have any.
That part.
So, since when did those melanated beings, carbon beings, if we're going to talk periodic table and elements, and the things that are within our bodies that we comprise of, talk about the significance of the sun, since when did that transaction lessen and we become the minority?
Right. And so see,
togetherness is so important.
And I'm glad that you shared that. I'm glad you piggybacked off of that. And that's what we try to do here on Speak On. We have these conversations. So, when you come back and we have different topics and we bring on other guests and things of that nature, like this is what we do here. We want our people to be able to express themselves and share those things and think about those things in ways that are like, wow, you know what? That's the sneak. They hit us with the swammy, continue to being bamboozled and hoodwinked. And I totally feel you on that. That might scare some people off, but this is necessary because we've been taught everything else. That made us believe everything else, right? I mean, it goes back to this has been just ringing in my head and in my spirit, for the past couple months, heavily. And I'm like, I still can't believe they pushed African American onto us. It's on applications, it's on everything, but did not teach us a lick about the true Kemet in Africa. Nothing was taught to us about that in our scholastic system, in our structured colonized schools.
Right.
That was not within the pagan holidays. None of that taught us about Africa and the true history of it. You had to go to a college. So you went through 12 years of grade school to get to a point where you got blessed to learn about more if you didn't get this at home. Because not everybody's family has this knowledge and history because they learn it from the same people, from the same system, the same systemic descendants of slave masters. So and colonizers. So you're stuck on believing this is all it is. Oh yeah, you're right. And of course they're not going to put on TV during Black History Month everywhere or during Martin Luther King's birthday his latter speeches where the things that he was when he apologized for not listening to Meager and to Malcolm and to others who were like, we need equity over equality. So we have this continued battle of people with narratives, false narratives for us.
Yeah, selective imprisonment. I will call it selective. So I only tell you this much a part of the story, but the story is this big.
Yes.
So that way that you remain small-minded when that topic is presented. Remain docile in terms of how you're going to push your level of thinking. Because if I spoon feed you, you're not going to think about what else there is to eat. You're just taking what you can. And I think that's it's so intricate to understand that about Black radical thinkers, right? Because at the end of the day, they're not going to explicitly say this is what it is, like no, they're going to remain on code with it. They're going to remain on code. And it's up to us to be able to break that down and analyze it and give it out.
Yeah.
And that's a part of our lineage. That's a part of our culture to remain on code. You know how? Because there's hieroglyphics. That's remaining on code right there. The ancestors wrote on the walls. Hieroglyphics for us as melanated and carbonated beings, right? To remain on code. That's how they passed it down.
Right. And then you look in South America, the Caribbeans, plantations. If the thing was this is still up and or may have been restored or whatever, and you see certain writings that are still there, certain things that were left that were still there, trying to send a message to the generations coming behind it. And of course, a lot of things weren't able to move forward because when the slave revolts happened, they burning it down.
Right.
So you couldn't keep it. People got killed on the way to freedom from that part of slavery, enslavement. So certain writings weren't able to travel forward to the children and the children's children and so on and so forth. So it's a lot of hidden things that we don't know specifically of, but we know at least a ballpark of what happened, and enough of it is written and understood. Enough of the lineage of those who were enslaved us are around to be able to say, oh yeah, this is what grandpappy and grandma, you know what I'm saying? Man, we used to always talk about doing, and things of that nature. These are writings that we still have because they spoke the Queen's English. We had multiple different languages because we've been all over the globe. But we foundational were here at that time. Everybody that was enslaved didn't come straight from Africa or for the Caribbeans. It was, you know what I'm saying, or in South America, it was our people, some of our people that were already here.
Right. We were everywhere. I mean, and people really seem to forget that there was a such thing called Pangea, where all of the continents were connected together. So, I mean, Africa is obviously in the middle, but still, was that really Africa if all the continents were connected together at some period of time? So does that mean, so that basically means that there was different melanated beings all across the continent during maybe Pangea? So I just, that point right there, I just sometimes don't really understand why people categorize us as every African American person that's here has been brought here. Their ancestors have been brought over here by a ship. Right. And I don't agree. I agree in certain contexts. I definitely agree that there was slavery, but in terms of the ships being brought over here and all that, it just seems a little skewed in at least my understanding of it.
Yeah, and all of those things are researchable, debatable. It's a lot of history that's like we were saying, have been so separated from us that it's hard to piece everything together in one, one setting, but it's enough that is available that you can start to piece it together and just continue to connect with one another and figure out. But the biggest thing about it of all that we can't get away from is that it was enslavement to our people, and it been restructured and reformed in a lot of different ways, but it's still there. And once we can get to a place of agreement and accepting that, that's going to help everything else. But when you still have some of our people like, no, we weren't enslaved. None of our people were enslaved. You know what I'm saying? No, the prison system isn't built for enslavement. You know what I'm saying? The judicial system, the scholastic system, if nobody can say this thing's systemic, then it's hard pressed to be able to catch on, because you got too many of our people like, well, Master been good to me. What you talking about? You know what I'm saying? You got too many of that where it's hard pressed, you know what I'm saying, to do it. Like, no, it's structurally built for some to get more. Mm-hmm. No matter how hard you work, no matter you try to pull yourself up by your bootstrap, is another false narrative and half truth. Like it's only certain how far, you can only go but so far. Mm-hmm. When you allowing others to be in control of your destiny.
Right.
And you can do it on a spirit, and you can do it on a religious level as well. That's for another topic. We're gonna get dive into. Oh yeah. We got the heat coming. It's the legend of the fall. I'm the legend of the fall for a reason. So we got some heat coming in the coming week. So yeah, but just to share with you know what I'm saying, with our family, our viewers, look, I'm at the place now. We going weekly now. So we're recording weekly now. So you guys are going to see us more. You're going to hear from us more. You're going to hear from me more. You're going to see me more. So get used to seeing this face and hearing this voice and seeing more of our guests and things we bring into the table. And we're going, we're going to continue to move forward and strive in every spectrum and dimension that we can to bring you all the facts to life. Because, like you said, we can't keep living off of the lies that keep being told to us. So, and all of this up is for discussion. I'm always up to hear another topic from you all. So don't be afraid to share. I implore you to do so. I welcome you to do so. Not everybody's going to give you that opportunity for their content and channels and podcasts. So we're giving you that here. So take full advantage of it so you can feel that you are a part of the family, which I believe, that I truly believe, and know that you all are, because it means nothing if you aren't here. I'm just talking to myself, and I can do that when I'm meditating or praying. So yeah. So anything you want to leave us with, Dage, once again, where the people can find you at. And like I said, I'll have some links in the description of the video. And just anything you want to share with the people, a sentence or a word, phrase, a quote, a mantra, that makes you, keeps you going.
All right. Well, first off, thank you, DCTC, for allowing me to come on here. I had a great time talking with you. Every time we talk is always vibrational, and I'm pretty sure we could expand even more about this topic, but definitely appreciate it. And you all can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter with the, I guess, like the handle that's on the screen with Authentically Dage. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. But yeah, that's all. Thank you again.
You're more than welcome. I'm glad to have you. This is the first and not the last. So, this is really big for me, huge for me having you on. This is an honor for me. I appreciate you so much. No problem. We're going to continue to build and move forward together with and for our people and for one another, because that's what we got to do. That's the only way we're going to come out of this thing, well. So till next time, power and progress, peace and blessings, and have a great rest of the evening, okay?
All right. Same to you. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Later, Dage.